So we are going to discuss the Royal Rumble. This, of course, taking place from Tropicana Field, the former home of the Thunderdome, um, which was very odd. I guess this really is the first time they've been back at this venue since they were there during COVID and essentially rented out like the worst stadium in the major leagues. Just a terrible, terrible, terrible building for everything except wrestling and New Kids on the Block, apparently, because I did watch the post event press conference, and one of the things that Triple H mentioned, they set a new indoor attendance record for the Trop, and apparently New Kids on the Block were the ones who held the previous record, and he kind of got a good chuckle out of that. And he's like, "Hey, you know you're doing well when you beat the New Kids." It's like, all right, fair enough. So yeah, over 48,000 in attendance for this, and this is a big event. There was a lot going on in this. There was a lot of story leading up to this. There was a lot happening and a lot going on for only 4 matches on the card.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really surprised by that I was expecting more for some reason.
And it still ran damn near 4 hours.
Yeah.
I was shocked about midway through the men's rumble, and I'm like, it's 11 now.
Yeah.
We don't even have everyone in the ring yet.
Credit to them for pacing it the way they did. I mean, to even throw an extra match in there would not have been good. Would not have been good.
We might have still been watching at this point.
Yes.
I honestly think, and I'll just throw this idea out at the risk of extending our show even further. I think that there is a case to be made. I know that the Rumble has always been in January. WrestleMania has always been in April. I think there's a case to be made for shuffling somehow, maybe some of these events, or maybe in January we just say, hey, guess what? The only other pay-per-view that extends over 2 nights is the Royal Rumble. Because if you're really going to kick off, I mean, it would be great to have a women's Rumble as the main event one night, men's Rumble that's the following night. Make it 2 hours-ish, and you can have a few more matches. You can have a few more things building, stories taking place outside of the Rumble matches. I know that might cause some problems with, roster availability. However, judging by how things went in those 2 matches, things ain't all that thin. And there was a lot of cats who did not make the Rumble who were not on this pay-per-view. Believe it or not. So that's just my 2 cents. Any quick reaction to that thought?
No, I agree. I think, there you always run the risk too of fatigue, as well within the same event. And, I think it was, to use an LA Knightism, it was good on them to, start, with the women's Rumble, space it out with the 2 matches and then do the men's Rumble. But it was a lot, and it definitely stood out, and we'll get into it a bit. The lack of reaction at times, some of the action as well being a little clunky. I think that stuff stood out a little bit, across the night. So I think to do it 2 nights and have across those 2 nights, I really like that idea. Like, have the Rumble be the main event, have 3, maybe 4 matches that build up to it on each night. Because there's plenty of championships, to represent there, both on the women's and on the men's side. And so you could make one event, totally. And I know there's that probably that fear of, we're not going to get as much viewership, but I don't think people aren't going to watch if it's solely a women's event versus it being a men's event. I don't think that's the issue.
I don't think you need to even go that. I wouldn't go that far.
No,
and believe me, I've been a staunch defender of the women's side of the roster for
absolutely
past 2-3 years.
Yep.
I just think you kind of, if you're drawing that line, then you're just trying to fill. It can become just trying to fill space if it's not merited.
Yeah.
And I think mixing and matching also, like, it's a little bit, it goes back to that 3-ring circus model of wrestling that Mick Foley mentioned. Like, hey, if you don't like the elephants, well, the clowns are coming out. If you don't like the clowns, well, there's the lion tamer. You've got the different stuff for everybody, and you kind of mix and match.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's enough championships. And if you're really trying to build towards WrestleMania and you're really trying to, I'll say it this way. This is the first time I've really felt this way, because I
Mhm.
really felt they had so many stories woven into the Rumble itself. I'm like,
Mhm.
man, what's the next step? Well, you have stuff that just isn't taking place in the Rumble.
Yeah.
And you're then using, the Rumble is just kind of the Rumble.
Yep.
So I think that it would be worth a thought, I think.
Yeah. Real quick, breaking news. CM Punk has come out on Raw and confirmed he has a torn right tricep. He will miss WrestleMania. And he said it's a bump in the road. There's always next year. And then they shot an angle on the way out with Drew McIntyre hitting the scene to say he prayed for this and it happened. And Punk vowed to make him his first target upon his return. So I think that's pretty cool. It's like it fits the Drew
Mm,
McIntyre character, and
yeah.
when Punk returns and takes his anger out on Drew, that will be a sight to behold. So, uh,
That sucks, but at the same
yeah.
time, I mean, what are you going to do?
But jumping back to this, because like I like this idea because you could do something very interesting as well, where you have, like for example, like let's say we like do some fantasy booking. You have the women's rumble, let's say on Sunday night. You have Rhea Ripley that night defending the championship against, let's say, a Becky Lynch or something like that, or
Mm,
or against, let's say, Nia Jax. She retains. You could run an interesting story of then that person who loses being an entrant in the Rumble and earning back, a title
a
shot
rematch.
at
Yeah.
rematch at WrestleMania. I think that's interesting. You could have had the Kabuki Warriors defend the tag, the women's tag belts against whoever. There's definitely interesting things they could do with it.